when you stand up and get ready to take a blow, you have the confidence that you can accept the blow.
As a point of interest, none of my men wear protection in the groin. None.
After all, you wouldn't want your attacker to get injured.
That hurt my foot.
And we're live. We are live. Welcome everyone to Afterburn Soccer, formerly Big D After Dark. Shout out to our friends at bigdsoccer.com. But you can find us now at afterburn.soccer. And hey, we're glad to be here tonight. My name is Nathan. I'm the little host convener for this weekly conversation where we break down the latest FC Dallas, North Texas, MLS news. We'll get into a bit of interesting things tonight. And you can follow me at Nathan J. Hill. With me right now is our good friend Ishmael Belcora. You can follow him at Belcora Isma on Twitter. Jose Carmona will be joining us in just a few moments, so we'll weave him in. But we got a lot to talk about tonight, and we want to take your comments and your questions live as we get going here. So pepper us with some questions, some insights that you had from the recent FC Dallas action, as on Saturday afternoon they went up to Vancouver. Tough, a weird place to play, as head coach Nico said during the week, and came away with a draw, a vital away point, which you always take in this league. So, some good things to take away. It was an interesting match. It had its ups and downs. You could argue that the team left some points out there. The equalizer goal did come from a Paul Arriola own goal, which is disappointing. Not the first goal of the season you wanted to see Paul Arriola put into the back of the net. So, Ishmael, just give us your thoughts as you watch the match, as you have processed the performance, this third game of the 2023 season for FC Dallas.
Yeah, just watching this game, one of the main things I took away from it was that the Western Conference is going to be such a difficult conference to play in this year, as it is most years. But Vancouver has not won a single game, and in this game they legitimately were the better side for like half of the game. There were short stints here and there where FC Dallas was able to control play a little bit more, but all in all, it was just a really difficult game to play. And FC Dallas being able to only concede one goal in this game was really remarkable. All in all, I think we're starting to get a little bit more of ideas about what the defense can do. Who are the best players? What are their strengths, their weaknesses? It was a good game for fans to see and for us to analyze without having like too many positives and negatives. It was just a very even game, a very good game of soccer. And yeah, we don't usually get results in Vancouver, and so getting a draw is always a good thing. And it's just, we're 1-1 so far this season. This is going to be an interesting season, I think. This is one of the things that I saw, that one of the lower placed teams in the league plays really good soccer. So yeah, it was just a very good game.
Yeah, I was impressed with Vancouver's performance. In fact, here comes Jose right now. Hey Jose, we're just getting started talking about giving our reactions to the game on Saturday at FC Dallas's performance. I don't know if you can center yourself on the screen there, Jose, but Yeah, I was really impressed with Vancouver, how quickly they were able to kind of spring out, get the ball into attack, get the ball into really dangerous positions against FC Dallas. And like their forward play is really good. I mean, he just is able to he's that just get in there, occupy the center backs, and kind of win the ball in dangerous spots. And so you could argue that FC Dallas was lucky not to give up more opportunities. Paz had that amazing save, which I think was crucial to preserving it. Unlucky for Areola just to be in the position he was to give up that own goal, because he was actually in a decent position to try to play that ball and do something with it. Just that kind of stuff happens. But credit to Vancouver, and FC Dallas certainly has some other chances too. And so I just think when Nico said Vancouver's a weird place to play, and then the team gets a fifth-minute goal from Tafari to Ibiaga. Like, no one had that on their bingo card. No one had that in match predictions. That is not what people think of when they think of and it wasn't a headed ball from one side of the goal to the other. It was Tafari with a long cross in, and Ibiaga was just in position. It was just a great play, heads up play from those two guys. We'll hear from him in a minute. Jose, what were your reactions to the game? Oh, you're still not. Okay, yeah, all right. Jose's having some technical issues. Well, let's go ahead and jump over to Nico. Nico's I was able to ask him a question after the game just about the mentality for the guys, kind of how he kept his squad focused, knowing that, hey, we go up a goal early. How do we see this result out and get something from it? Here's Nico Estevez.
This group has the hungry, to go to any place and try to win. We showed last year, I think it was very important for us, our first away game, to set the tone. We already learned from our last game at home what it takes to win, right? And I think we put that in the table. And I think the guys had an amazing effort. And then for me, the only thing that I told them is like the mentality, you winning 1-0, just go and kill the game, right? And it sounds very easy, right? When we said it's more difficult than that. But I think we could be a little bit more determined and more aggressive in those moments that we had. I think Vancouver was struggling and having a hard time. And we were comfortable, but I think we missed a little bit more aggression, in that moment of the game. And I think we react well, with the adjustments work well, and the players that came in helped a lot. And credit, because historically is a difficult stadium and team to play with here. And today, I think we did a lot of things to deserve to win this game.
So Nico felt like, that there were points that the team played well enough to win this game. I'm just your thoughts on that, Ishmael.
Yeah, it was just a challenging game, and I think Nico talked about it, that this kind of game is something that FC Dallas is going to have to deal with more and more. And coming into a season like this, even early on, any expectations to roll over teams is just dead in the water, right? And so Vancouver, I don't think any of us had an expectation to win, but we had an expectation that we would play like we would be the better side. And in looking at the whole game, Vancouver did produce the more chances. Vancouver did generally look better over the entirety of the game. FC Dallas had their spells of control, and that's why we were able to calm down a lot of their press. But it was just again a really good game of two teams playing two different styles. And so it was just really awesome to see the team being able to pull a point away on the road, which is something that's always important. and do it while also not getting overwhelmed by a team that is very, very good. And so, yeah, it was just a really good game, and that just transitioning into the next game, that's what matters. Like continuing the push for results, despite whoever we have. That's going to be what's important throughout the season.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a brutal season, and yeah, just teams are going to play well. Like I look over at San Jose Earthquakes, who were last season one of the worst teams in the league. Obviously fired their head coach, brought in Lucci, and they're playing well. They're ahead of FC Dallas at this point in the standings. This league turns around quick, and so you just can't count anyone out. You can't assume anyone is going to be an easy win, unless maybe right now you're playing Charlotte. Charlotte seems to be the team that's really doing themselves in, but yeah, it's such a tough league. So I appreciate how Nico is really beginning to recognize it's not his first year in the league. He's been an assistant coach before, but he's recognizing that and integrating that knowledge of like, hey, there are places where you go and you play and you get a point and you take it to the bank. You know how difficult it is, and you prep your guys for that, and you don't care if it's an ugly win, a pretty win. You just get the win. And so like that Tafari to Ibiaga goal, just you take it. You take it and you roll with it, because FC Dallas, I think, too often has gifted other teams those kinds of goals, those kinds of bounces. So it's nice when it goes your way for once. It's just going to be a grind of a season this year. Yeah. I'm here. Hey, Jose, I can hear you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I simply have to change my my microphone settings.
Okay. Yeah, Jose's been trying to work out a technical detail, but he is here with us. So your reactions to the draw against Vancouver, Jose?
Well, you know me, I like a point on the road, and I think none of us are happy at how nervy the team looked at times. Where I think it was training where we all thought that Vancouver was going to get that final goal.
Mm-hmm.
But the team persevered. They played gritty. I mean, I'm very happy with the result. I mean, part of me, of course, wants 3 points, but we don't have any good results in Vancouver recently that I can recall. So I'll take it. I'm pretty happy. I think there was some uneven performances across the board. In the attack anyway, I think the midfield was solid, at least possession-wise. But I think we would have preferred to see them do more in the attack. It was kind of hard for that to transpire because every time Paxton and Velasco and Paul got the ball, these guys were getting hammered on. And with the refs allowing the Vancouver and Dallas to play, if Vancouver was just, they had free reign to just basically destroy any potential buildup that FC Dallas was attempting. So, but the defense, I think the defense was great. I'm excited that Safari's had back-to-back good games. Has been just dominant on air and on aerials and duels, and kind of excited that he was on Martinez's usual spot, which I didn't expect. And then Ibiaga played well enough that I like to see that pairing again, because I think they were both dominant in the air.
In midweek, Nico said that we should expect this. We should expect rotation based on the wear and tear of the season, but also just matchups. And I definitely think probably, at least on paper, Ibiaga's stronger maybe in the air than Jose, maybe a little. But so I took, like a lot of fans, I'm sure, when I saw the lineup sheet come out, I hesitated. I was like, oh no. But it worked out. They got the job done. maybe wasn't the prettiest, flashiest job ever, but they got the job done. And of course, but also this is the second game in a row where Tafari Nkosi has looked legit. Like what we have seen him before, which begs the question, why he hasn't locked down that spot, or what more the coach wants to see from him. But hey, that's that locker room talk that we don't get to be a part of. It'll be
it's just one of the things when looking at this season is, again, I don't think we emphasize enough how big the game management is, how important that game management is going to be, especially when League's Cup comes up, because we're going to have an insane number of games, and having the starters being comfortable with each other is extremely important. Like, we can say that having 4 starting level center backs is a need coming into the season, but you can't just throw them out. Like, if you never play Tafari and Ibiaga together, you can't just throw them out against the Liga MX side, against Necaxa, just because that's what comes up and that's how the legs are at that time. They have to be comfortable with each other. And so now we've seen, like, that's what I was saying, that we've seen now in these 3 games. We still have a lot to learn, but in these 3 games, we've seen the strengths of these players and how they work well together. Martinez and Ibiaga maybe don't have the best partnership because of the lack of speed, but the experience could matter in those games down the stretch. And Nkosi and Martinez is a comfortable pairing. And then Ibiaga and Tafari, they work well together just because of how physical they are. And then in those difficult matches, that will be crucial. And so knowing this now, instead of learning this in July, is extremely important. And it's not saying that now is the time to try things, but now is the time to solidify what we know and solidify those partnerships and those relationships between players, so that when the important stuff comes up later on in the season, we are ready. We're not just like, I guess throw them in together. So it was really interesting to see. I want to see again Martinez and Ibiaga, because I feel like Ibiaga just had a really bad first game, just maybe because of nerves. But that's what we want to see. We want to see them get comfortable with each other.
Well, good stuff. Let's listen to Sebastian Ibiaga first. Just talk about what it felt like to score that actually first Major League Soccer goal of his career in an FC Dallas kit, and evidently he and Nkosi are good buds already. And so let's hear from him real quick, and then we'll kind of keep the conversation rolling.
No, it's good. It's been a long time since I scored a goal, so it was good to get on the scoring sheet. And then obviously for it to be assisted by Coach is just kind of funny. That's my boy. So we kind of just looked at each other and I was like, just put that in the box and I'll go get it. That's exactly what he did. So yeah, no, it was good. Just makes it a little extra special. That was from Coach as well.
It's a little extra special. We'll take it. Take it, young man, or anyway, or younger to me anyway. Yeah, so. Hey, so next game up for FC Dallas, we welcome Sporting Kansas City at home to Frisco. Fun fact about Sporting Kansas City, winless so far this season. Unless did they have a draw?
I mean, they had draws. They had two draws.
They had 2 draws.
Still winless, though. That's correct.
But winless, right, and 0 goals scored. And for one of the hotter teams in the second half of last season, they just were tough and were on fire. Their striker was just playing well, and they have struggled. And they had 30. Ishmael pulled up. They had 30 shots in their last game, still 0 goals. That scares me a little bit, just because they got nothing to lose. They're going to come in here against FC Dallas like we got to score, and so. I hope that run continues. But just what are your thoughts thinking about this upcoming match against Sporting Kansas City? Jose, we'll start with you.
Well, it's Sporting. It's going to be chippy, and Sporting always seems to have some good set pieces against FC Dallas, and that's really what I expect. I expect a hard-fought game. Dallas has to score a goal early, at least, or midway through the first half, and force a more open game. I think if Dallas does that at home, force Sporting to play a more open game, then I'm pretty confident that FC Dallas can get the win. But it's that chippiness. How are the refs going to call it? This is a big deal. Um, I mean, do we really need Paxton getting beat up as badly as he got beat up in Vancouver 2 weeks in a row? I hope not. I hope the refs call it a little bit closer, and we see quite a few yellow cards going probably both ways. I think it's going to be a rough first half, but I think it's going to be a fun second half. I think it'll open up. I think Dallas will get that goal, and we'll have an entertaining game. And here's hoping that Sporting doesn't their break in their attack against FC Dallas and open the floodgates.
That's my fear as well.
It's interesting, right? Because Alan Pulido hasn't been in the first 3 games. He was expected to be in the home opener that they had last week, and he wasn't. But he is in training, completely, according to the Blue Testament over at Sporting Kansas City. And so I think it's pretty likely he probably won't start, but he will be on the bench, right? Not saying that cures all of their goal-scoring issues, but one of the things that I've seen is that it feels like to a lot of people that this Kansas City team is just very close to breaking the dam. They pushed LA Galaxy to the brink, and it took a lot from them to keep Kansas City scoreless. And it's not like they're just having a bunch of shots off target, right? It's 30 shots, 11 on target. So they are pushing, right? So again, based off of what happened in that last game, they are very attack heavy. They don't possess. That's the Kansas City way. It's a lot of pressing, individual pressing, and those individual battles that Jose was talking about will end up causing a lot of scrappiness. And so again, it's going to be a little similar to that Vancouver game, where FC Dallas will probably have the brunt of the possession. Something that it didn't look like they were able to completely make work in that Vancouver game. It's not going to be super similar, but those scrappy moments are very important to see how the team deals with that. It was really awesome to see Paxton being able to brush off a lot of it. He looked knocked up, but he was able to brush off a lot of it. That's great coming into the season with all the injury concerns that we have for him. And so this game is going to be a difficult one, despite the fact that they haven't scored any goals. They also have only conceded 1 so far this season, and that was in their first game. So their defense is better than it was last year. So how is Jesus going to be able to be hot and cold again? What's going to happen here? That's one of the things that we're looking at this at the start of the season, that again looks like Jesus is being a little hot and cold. So that's what we're looking at here. It's going to be a difficult game, but again, hopefully an entertaining one. That's what we're always hoping for.
I don't have a problem with Jesus being hot and cold so long as he's hot at home and cold on the road. But it's too early to tell if he's even hot at all. So
it's so early in this season. There's a lot to think about, and of course I think it's too early even to think about match predictions and things as the week goes along. I'm going to be curious to see kind of the health of the squad, and I know Areola came off early against Vancouver with a bit of a knock, but I don't think Nico was concerned about it. But we'll just be watching those kinds of things. I mean, Pomacol was just flattened over and over again. I know that's going to have an effect on him, and we haven't really seen the next person up other than Quinon behind Cerrillo, but if Siki's given extended minutes, can he get things going? Can we really see the best out of Sebastian? So there's a lot of questions still for FC Dallas, because I don't think we've seen the best of them yet, even though we've had 2 very positive results this past 2 weeks. That's good. Well, hey, let's jump over to some other fun talk. Let's start with this rumor. I didn't read the ESPN article about it, so I'm just going off of what was tweeted out. But evidently, there's talk of Bayern Munich of developing a relationship with Los Angeles FC, and a subtext of that, of course, is that Bayern has a relationship with FC Dallas Academy. And it's been a very successful relationship. I mean, you look at a guy like Chris Richards, you look at some of the loans that have happened. But there's been some rumblings that maybe Bayern isn't happy because FC Dallas isn't just rolling over and accepting lowball prices for these talented academy players. But then a bidding war begins, and so these guys end up going elsewhere, right? They Bayern can't afford to purchase them, whether it's a Pepe, which I don't know if they were interested, but I imagine they'd have to be interested in a Pepe or Brian Reynolds or others. So, Jose, have you read this thing, and kind of what's your take on it? Is that something for FC Dallas fans to be concerned about, or is this just part of FC Dallas's emergence in the international market?
Yeah, I don't honestly think anything's going to change between FC Dallas and Bayern. I honestly don't get what the big deal is with their partnership with LAFC. I know it's supposed to be a shared deal. They're going to have it set up in Germany and whatnot, but I don't know what LAFC brings to the table other than the fact that they're the champs and are ambitious. I mean, I'll give them that. So they are ambitious. They do have ambition, but I'm not sure what they bring to the table for Bayern other than that. I mean, I don't know that they have a good academy. I know there's a lot of talent in the area, but I'll tell you right now that LAFC 2 has like one player signed to their roster. Everybody else, even Rochester, which just folded, had more players signed to their roster, and they had been losing players left and right. I don't understand it. I don't think it's really going to affect the FC Dallas Bayern thing they've got going. It's not like there's some activity between both teams, and Bayern's a big enough club that they could have partnerships with 12 teams in the U.S. and it really wouldn't affect the Dallas model. So I think the training will keep going back and forth, and like I said, I don't really think it's going to change much. One last thing, let's not forget that Tarek Scott was with Bayern this offseason, and had he not been injured and lost for the season, he'd be the Bayern connection this year. So, like I said, I don't think it changes anything, alters anything in Bayern. It's just, they're probably going to do they're probably going to add an East Coast affiliation before long too, because why have just West Coast and Central? Might as well add an East Coast one too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, in North Texas, their season is coming up soon. We don't have. They signed a futsal player, which is kind of fun. This last week, I'm going to try to set up an interview that we can use up on an upcoming show or release on the site at afterburn.soccer. So stay tuned for that. But their roster is slowly coming together. Jose put together a good kind of a piece about where the roster is right now as it continues to come together.
Yeah, it's looking good.
Yeah,
it's looking good. Pandeka, he's like I said, futsal guy and a top tier one at that. Started for the U.S. World Cup team, and played futsal professionally in Europe, I believe. So he's with in France, I believe. So this guy is, and mind you, when it comes to soccer itself, he was a high school All-America. So he prioritized futsal over soccer, and now he's decided to prioritize soccer full-time. And he looked great from all reports in in preseason. So you could see this signing coming a mile away once they figured out who he was and who's that trialist number 3. And once we figured out who it was, it's like, oh yeah, this guy's got North Texas trialist signing. And mind you, and he is a North Texas guy, by the way. So just a testament to how much talent there is in North Texas, and just trialists that FC Dallas signs are just on another level than most of your other MLS Next Pro teams. I can think of a few that could do those kind of yearly trial signs that could have an impact. Like St. Louis has a ton of talent, and I'm sure they're going to have some trials that are going to make things. So yeah, really excited about this trialist, and honestly, I'm stoked. I'm excited for the roster. The roster is shaping up. I think they already have a really strong roster, and they haven't even gotten any loans from the senior team yet. So I think I don't know if you guys knew, but I wrote a piece much earlier where I talked about the top 10 teams in MLS Next Pro, and the fact is that even if North Texas ends up being just a mediocre team, for whatever reason, injuries, you never know. MLS Next Pro is such a top-heavy league where your top 10, top 14 teams are just on another level compared to the bottom half of teams, that even a mediocre team can have an excellent season because there's just a lot of teams that just don't put the time and effort. It's not that they don't roll out rosters, but they some teams just have no set tactics. It's more of a, they look more like all-star teams than actual teams. They're just throwing whichever players are in there. It's just hard. It's just hard to watch some of these teams. FC Dallas is on the positive side where they put effort into their team, and which teams do that. The teams with great academies are the teams that right now are having the best go in MLS Next Pro, and I'm excited for the season, but I know a lot of people are not. But that's because look at North Texas. How many players signed MLS contracts off of last year's team? You got Mulatto, you got Kamungo, and then of course you had even Bartlett, who signed with St. Louis and made his debut in MLS last week. So that's 3 MLS players coming out of it. And I know people are going to say, hey, well, Bartlett was drafted, but he never saw minutes with Dallas, and nobody ever thought he would see MLS minutes. So there you go. 3 players out of North Texas, and that's why I like watching that team, because there are about 3 or 4 guys that have potential. I'm not saying they will. They have potential to make that step up to the senior team.
Go ahead, Ishmael.
It's really like looking at what we're going to have this year. Most likely, Endley is going to be the one that's loaned full time, because FC Dallas can do that with one player before it becomes a cap hit. So they'll probably loan Endley full time. Carrera,
Agreed.
Norris, Korcha will probably be down there a lot, but they probably won't be loaned down full time because they are needed on the roster in case injuries come up. And so just looking at the rest of the team, it's a really good balance of both signed players, FC Dallas players that need time, and academy players. Like, it was really, really like heartwarming to see Diego Hernandez. I think it's Diego Hernandez. I think that's his name. The academy player who was just in a car crash last year and derailed a lot of his development for a decent amount of time, be a starter for the majority of the preseason games, because that to me tells me that the first team hasn't given up on him and knows how talented he is. And so just seeing that balance, just seeing Urzua being signed like last week in a very
Great
probable NTSC/FC Dallas contract. Um, us signing a kid from El Paso, from the El Paso Academy. Like these are just really, it's a very interesting balance. And every single year that North Texas has been in MLS Next and like it has existed, it's been different because it's been different coaches, and some of them have had they've had different pros and cons, and so now there's a very equal balance, which is something that we haven't seen like completely. Like Pamoruka did not have a complete balance with the academy players coming into the North Texas SC. Eric Quill had a lot of players signed to that team, did not have a lot of bringing from the first team in the academy. So seeing this balance in preseason again, actual season is going to be it differs sometimes. So hopefully this continues, but seeing that balance is a very good thing to see this early on, and hopefully they continue that throughout the season.
Yeah, I just want to add that the first year of existence is when we had a lot of interaction between both teams because we honestly didn't know, and I'm sure the team was trying to figure out how North Texas would work. But we had Pepe and a lot of players from SC Dallas see a lot of minutes from North Texas in his first year of existence, and then as far as Quill, he was troubled by the whole COVID thing, and so I'm sure he would love to have had some players flown down to him, and but that kind of made it hard with the whole. It had like a 2 week. You had to like sit out for 2 weeks before if you were going to be switching between teams. So it just did not make it worthwhile, other than season loans, to have players, come and play with the team. So it's. I would love to see. I keep hearing that they're going to go back to similar to what they did the first year, but I got to see it. I keep hearing it, and we've seen some players, some first team players, get minutes already in preseason, which is a good sign.
Mm-hmm. I just hope like this kind of signing, like in my piece about North Texas, we're going to definitely see a lot of academy guys. We're going to see some first team guys get minutes. We're going to see North Texas, have these interesting international loans of this prospects that gives a full year in the FC Dallas Academy, which is a credit to the development structure that this team is building, and that other players go like, oh, I can go from Argentina, I can go from Brazil and get an opportunity to play here where Ricardo Pepi went to Europe, where we've seen Justin Che and these other guys have gotten opportunities to go, and so they see in FC Dallas as a next step in their career, or at the very least, it's a chance to play in a different environment and grow as a young adult, as in a different kind of environment. But I love this Thomas Pondeka signing, which right now I sort of slot it as like a Kamungo signing, like this diamond in the rough, a guy who's a trialist who I know Kamungo was younger, but like here's a guy that other folks may have missed, scouts may have missed, just didn't have that opportunity, wasn't given that chance, and here just gets a chance to maybe step up and become something special. If Dallas can land on those kinds of guys, like wow, well, and they're just great stories. It's just great stories,
I'm really excited
and
about the. Go ahead.
It's similar to the Mikey Maldonado signing, right? And they did an interesting thing with the press release for the Pundeka signing, saying who are all the open trialist signings that they've had over the years, and it's been 5 in total, including Pundeka. There might be another one, mainly because we've had goalkeeper trialist number 1 come in like every single preseason game for Antonio Carrera,
True.
and I think that one is from the open trials. They probably do need another goalkeeper, so he might be signed sooner rather than later. But looking at a player like Mikey Maldonado, it doesn't have to be Kamungo, where he will go into the first team and be influential for the first team like long term. Pundeka can have a very good career like Maldonado is having right now, where he went to Forward Madison and now is at North Carolina, and went from just being an amateur soccer player to actually getting his opportunity. So it's not exactly like Kamungo, it's more like Maldonado, where he just came in, decided take a chance at it and is now part of an organization that will look to build his future, whether that is with FC Dallas or somewhere else in the professional game. And so it'll be very fun to see his career. It'll be very fun to see a futsal player play on a regular soccer field. That's something I have never seen.
True.
So like that'll be very, very cool.
I want to say that I'm really excited to see what Henry brings to the table. He's been starting every preseason match, and this is a guy whose resume, his youth resume, is just phenomenal. So good that when he was linked with the organization, most of us thought he was being signed for FC Dallas, and for North Texas to acquire a guy like that, a real legit top prospect. We're talking captain the U17 Brazil World Cup winning club. He's also won multiple. We're talking like multiple Brazilian cups at the youth level. He's won just about every cup he could possibly win. This guy is a stud, and the only reason he's in North Texas is because he suffered an injury last year, and he's coming back from that. But his pedigree, his talent is all there, and if this guy puts it together, he's a guy that his pedigree says is a guy that FC Dallas senior team could use if he gets back to 100%. He's got that high of potential, and I'm really excited to see what he does. I expect him to anchor that back line, and we're already seeing some North Texas players get practice with the senior team. I have yet to see Henry, but once he does, I'll be curious to see how he does, because everything about this kid screams future star.
Well, good. We're gonna start to wrap up the show. So a lot to look forward to this week, and of course, you'll want to stay connected to the site afterburn.soccer. We'll be posting the audio link. And I apologize for the dog barking. I'm in a new setting and not quite. I'm out here with other things happening, so we'll try to work around that as we go. But the other big news on Twitter today, and in the soccer world, was the investigation about allegations against Greg Berhalter, an incident that happened 30 years ago between his now wife and then girlfriend or fiance, and when they were freshmen in college, of a fight between them, an altercation, a physical altercation that just was not good. It's not good. It's not healthy. But how both of them, they're not married, have kids, and have grown through that and have addressed that, but also addressing the behavior of a certain family to U.S. soccer executives, and that's the Reyna family, of course, who really groused and complained when their son Gio Reyna did not get as many minutes as they wanted. So they complained and they threatened and they harassed, and it is a fascinating read that goes back since Reyna was playing with the U20s and others. That just is a mess. It's just a mess. There's just no winners out of this situation. I don't know if y'all have any opinions on this. I mean, the craziest thing said was Gio's mom, and I know Gio's not certainly accountable for what his parents say or do not say. Some of us have dramatic parents, in our lives, but that at one point she said that with one phone call she could get rid of Berhalter's sneakers and bounce passes forever or whatever. So it's like, what are you talking? Anyway, a lot of drama there. So any reactions from that news this week? Anything that, I don't know, that gives you pause, or does this mean Berhalter can he come back or not as head coach for the United States men's national team?
Well, I mean, he can come back. He probably won't, given that McBride and Stewart are gone. Besides all of this insanity, the fact that his two biggest proponents in USSF are gone, is probably not the greatest sign for his future. And then you add this to it, probably won't come back. It's not a very comfortable position for me because of we are going into 2026 expecting at least a quarterfinal appearance, and we start off the cycle with no head coach, no general manager, and this entire drama going around, right? This is something that in the terrible future, if we do terribly in 2026, we will look back at this and say, this was the start, right? And I hope this isn't what happens, but this is not good, right? I really do hope that despite all of this that's happened, somehow, some way, Gio Reyna gets to be part of the men's national team. I don't see how that happens with Berhalter or with how terrible the Reynas have been, at least currently. But it would be so destructive for his career if he just never played for the national team. Like, it's just so bad. I will also say that if Claudio Reyna ever gets a job again, based off of the stuff that he said about that female referee, it would be absolutely infuriating. Like, just a slap in the face of every other female referee and female soccer player and everyone that's part of USSF. It's kind of insane that this has been happening since apparently 2016 and no one said anything. Like, that is really, really bad. Talks about the nepotism and everything. I mean, it's just going to be really interesting how this all plays out. Like, what's it going to look like in the next 2-3 months when we hopefully have a general manager and have started the coaching search, how this affects that going forward. Because that's what really matters. This stuff, it's basically in the past. But what is this going to affect going forward? That's what I'm looking at.
And of course, I don't know if you saw it, Ishmael, but Claudio Reyna released a statement from his lawyers that essentially said, well, this is a one-sided. Well, dude, you didn't agree to sit down and be interviewed. Like, what else is going to happen? Like, oh my gosh.
He also talks about his dead child from 11 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, I cannot take this person seriously anymore. I just really hope it doesn't affect Gio's progression in his career, because the stuff that he's saying now is just like, leave me off with this. I don't really care about what you think about anymore. Like, seriously, get out of U.S. soccer, Claudio Reyna.
So, my take on it is if you're a person who's being asked to interview for the managerial job, do you want to manage a team that brings that? I mean, this type of parent is not a unique occurrence in American soccer. This is actually quite common in U.S. soccer. This is the first time we've heard of it at this level, but I doubt if the Reynas are the only toxic U.S. men's national team member parents out there. They're just the most vocal and the only ones that have, stood out at the moment. But I doubt they're the only ones. And I know some people looked at what Berhalter was getting paid, which was something just under $2 million, I believe. That's not going to attract a big name European manager like everybody's hoping, U.S. is going to go out and get. That's not gonna. That might not even attract a, guy that's established in Europe. For that amount, it's got to have to be someone that has connection to U.S. soccer or to American soccer in some form or another, and those people are going to know the Reynas, and whether we like it or not, Gio is going to be a part of this U.S. men's national team, regardless of what their parents are doing in the background. So, if you are a manager, do you want to deal with that level of toxicity? Because that's not going to go away. Maybe it won't be out as open as before, but it'll still be there. And God, I don't have a problem with Berhalter coming back or not being brought back. as far as I'm concerned, his years with you at the U.S. were better than the previous manager, and in my opinion, enough to be given another shot. But at the same time, there's also something to be said for bringing in new talent, new vision. So I don't really care either or as long as a competent manager is put in place. And I think Berhalter's results speak for themselves. Nobody really thought the U.S. was going to get out of their group. No one thought they were going to win the titles that they did win under Berhalter. It's just every time Berhalter did something good, people would move the goalpost and say,
Yeah.
that was expected.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. Everybody was cheering against him, everything, all the way. So I don't agree with the whole mediocre results. I think people are just, the U.S. is not a superpower. They don't have superpower talent. They can't just walk up against a team and blow them out of the water. They have to be well managed. So if your argument is he could have managed better, I would agree to that. But I don't buy the whole we have so much talent. Gio is not a must start player. There's several players that fans love that they just cry if they're not starting or on the field, and I don't think the level of talent in the U.S. is to that level. But it is on the up and up, and this is whoever they get is going to be a crucial signing. This whole drama though, I'm just worried it's going to scare away any top manager that is actually considering coming to the U.S.
Yeah, this is the interesting point that you brought up. No one is going to really want the job, and so if Berhalter doesn't come back, there's a non-0% chance that our next head coach going into 2026 is Anthony Hudson. So like the Reina's basically doomed us to, and when people got really mad that Oguchi Onyewu was part of the GM like pool, like that the USMNT was looking at that. Well, and his credentials are not great. Like he's currently working for a second division side in Belgium. Well, the reason is again, the only reason to take this job is if you really want it. If like you are super invested in U.S. men's national team and their future. So like there is a possibility that Jesse Marsh, who's talked about wanting to do this job before, comes in and does it. But besides that, there isn't really anyone in Europe that has talked openly about wanting to be part of the U.S. men's national team, right? So Oguchi Onyewu probably really wants this job, and that's probably why he's part of this search for GM, even though his credentials are not good enough, full stop, for a national team general manager. And so this is going to harm the U.S. men's national team because we're either going to have someone who wants to be here but maybe doesn't have the credentials for it, or someone that's already in the organization, like Anthony Hudson, become the leader for this national team, and that would be really
or recycle an old coach like Bruce Arena or someone like that.
Oh yeah, bring back Bruce Arena. That worked great last time.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
My concern is that they will bungle this so badly that we'll be begging Berhalter to come back, and that's what I don't want to see. I'm a U.S. men's national team fan. I want the team to succeed, and I'm hopeful that this doesn't derail any positivity that came out of the last cycle. Not a great cycle, but a cycle that this team can build upon and set higher goals based on those results.
Yeah.
Oh, what a day of drama. What a day of drama.
We all love drama, but still.
Yeah, that was just anyway. Well, we need to leave it there. I appreciate Ishmael and Jose, your presence and your words tonight as we have looked back at that Vancouver draw. A good movement forward for FC Dallas, and hopefully it continues this weekend against Sporting Kansas City at home. Should be a fun match to watch. In the meantime, of course, check out the website. We'll have Jose's player grades come out tomorrow. We'll do have the audio version of this podcast also available tomorrow. And we appreciate your subscription to the site, watching us, following us, supporting us, and of course your support of FC Dallas, our beloved team. All right, good night, everybody.
Good night, y'all.
Good night. Good night.